In the spring of 1915, as trench warfare paralyzed the Western Front, British military strategists confronted an unprecedented problem. Traditional artillery bombardments failed to break German defensive lines. The war had become a stalemate measured not in miles, but in yards. Yet beneath the scarred landscape of France and Belgium, a different kind of warfare was already underway. British tunneling companies, comprised largely of civilian miners, dug elaborate networks beneath enemy trenches. The official purpose was clear: plant mines, collapse enemy positions, create tactical advantages. But what if some tunnels served another purpose entirely? In 2003, a Ministry of Defense document declassification released files related to Royal Engineers operations during the Great War. Most contained routine engineering reports, supply requisitions, casualty lists. But one file, catalogued as WO158/947, contained a peculiar phrase in a memo dated November 7, 1916. The memo, signed by an unidentified colonel with the initials JRM, discussed vibrational leverage in relation to ongoing tunneling operations near Arras. The term appeared nowhere else in military documentation from that period. No definition was provided, no context given. The phrase was never mentioned again. Sir John Norton Griffiths, the Member of Parliament who organized Britain's first tunneling companies, recruited experienced miners from across the United Kingdom in late 1914. These clay kickers, as they became known, used a specialized technique lying on wooden crosses to silently excavate chalk and clay. By 1916, over 25,000 men served in tunneling companies. Official records document their achievements: the Messines Ridge mines, the Somme galleries, countless smaller operations. But survivors' accounts, collected decades later, occasionally referenced something else. Projects where geologists arrived without explanation. Surveys that measured depth and density with unusual precision. James McAllister, a Scottish miner who served with the 177th Tunneling Company, gave an interview to the Imperial War Museum in 1968. At age 74, his memory remained sharp. He described routine mining operations near Vimy Ridge in early 1917, then mentioned an incident that puzzled him for 50 years. These fellows came down, not engineers, mind you, scientists of some sort. They had instruments we'd never seen. Measuring vibrations, they said. We thought it barmy, measuring vibrations in tunnels where we're digging. But they were serious as death. Took readings for 3 days, then disappeared. Never saw them again. McAllister's account exists in the museum's oral history archives. The geological composition of the Western Front varied dramatically. From the chalk of the Somme to the clay of Flanders, from the limestone of Artois to the sandstone of Lorraine, British engineers encountered diverse substrata. Geological surveys were routine. Understanding soil composition determined tunnel stability, mining feasibility, explosive effectiveness. The Geological Survey of Great Britain assigned specialists to assist military operations. But some assignments remain curiously vague in official records. Dr. William Fraser, a Cambridge-trained geologist, was attached to Royal Engineers headquarters from February 1916 through August 1917. His published work never mentioned this period. His private papers, donated to Cambridge in 1958, contained no wartime correspondence. In May 1917, the Battle of Messines Ridge demonstrated the devastating potential of underground warfare. At 3:10 a.m. on June 7th, 19 massive mines detonated simultaneously beneath German positions. The explosions, heard in London 140 miles away, created the largest human-made explosion in history to that point. Over 10,000 German soldiers died instantly. The tactical success validated years of dangerous tunneling work. But the Messines operation, meticulously documented, involved known tunnels with clear military objectives. Other tunneling projects from that period lack comparable documentation. Some appear in requisition logs but not in operational reports. Equipment allocated, men assigned, then silence. The theoretical possibility of weaponizing seismic vibrations existed in early 20th century scientific literature, though practical application seemed fantastical. Nikola Tesla famously claimed in 1898 that mechanical oscillators could, given sufficient time and proper tuning, generate resonant frequencies capable of structural damage. In 1912, he allegedly demonstrated a small oscillator that caused vibrations in a Manhattan building, though accounts vary. Tesla's ideas influenced military thinkers across Europe. Could concentrated, synchronized vibrations, properly channeled through geological formations, amplify destructive force? The science was speculative, but the trenches bred desperate innovation. Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Woolsey, Royal Engineers, maintained a personal diary throughout his wartime service. His family donated the diary to the National Archives in 1981. Most entries documented routine military life, weather, casualties, logistics. But an entry from March 18, 1917, stands out. Meeting at GHQ regarding the Special Frequency Project. Concerns raised about structural integrity of our own lines. Reminded of operational security. Cannot record further. The diary contains no subsequent mention of any frequency project. Woolsey's official service record shows him stationed at Royal Engineers headquarters in Saint-Omer during this period, but his specific duties are listed only as Special Projects Coordination. The Aras Tunnel system remains one of the most extensive subterranean networks created during the war. British engineers expanded existing medieval quarries and cellars into a vast complex sheltering 24,000 soldiers before the April 1917 offensive. Today, portions are preserved as historical sites, but the full extent of the Aras tunnels has never been completely mapped. Some passages, sealed after the war, remain unexplored. In 1991, construction workers accidentally broke through to an unmapped section. Engineers surveying the discovery found chamber dimensions inconsistent with typical military shelters, unusual ceiling heights, reinforced walls suggesting equipment installation, curious acoustic properties. The chamber was photographed, measured, then resealed for safety reasons. Wartime secrecy was absolute. The Official Secrets Act of 1911 criminalized unauthorized disclosure of military information. Soldiers signed documents acknowledging severe penalties for discussing sensitive operations. After the armistice, this culture of secrecy persisted. Many wartime projects remained classified for decades. Some files were deliberately destroyed. Others were transferred to restricted archives with extended closure periods. The systematic documentation of British tunneling operations is remarkably incomplete given their tactical importance. Gaps exist. Discrepancies appear between supply records and operational reports. Some units' activities during certain periods remain undocumented. Dr. Fraser, the Cambridge geologist, died in 1942 during the London Blitz. His obituary in the Geological magazine mentioned distinguished contributions to structural geology, but made no reference to military service. In 1963, a former research assistant attempted to compile Fraser's bibliography for a memorial volume. She discovered a gap. No published work existed from 1916 through 1918, despite evidence he continued research activities. Letters to colleagues were absent from this period. When she inquired at the Ministry of Defense about his wartime role, she received a standard reply. Records were incomplete, many files had been lost during the Blitz, specific details could not be provided. The missing map represents perhaps the most intriguing element of this theory. In March 1953, the Public Record Office underwent renovations. Files were temporarily relocated, cataloged, and reorganized. Among documents transferred from War Office storage was a collection of engineering maps from the Western Front. An inventory, prepared before renovation, listed 247 individual maps. The post-renovation catalog listed 246. The missing map, identified in the original inventory as WOMAP153, Specialized Tunnel Network, Artois Region, 1916 to 1917, was noted as item absent upon recataloguing, status unknown. Standard procedure required investigation of missing materials. The investigation file, if it existed, has not been located. Could a map simply be misplaced? Certainly. Archives are imperfect. Human error occurs. Yet the specific map described in the inventory was unusual. It reportedly showed tunnel networks across multiple sectors, spanning distances far beyond typical mining operations. Tactical tunnels rarely extended more than several hundred yards. Why would a single map chart tunnels across an entire region unless those tunnels served a coordinated purpose? The question remains unanswered because the map cannot be examined. In 1954, the Public Record Office was queried about the missing map by a military historian researching tunneling operations. His letter survives. The reply does not. Albert Davies, a Welsh miner attached to the 171st Tunneling Company, told his grandson in the 1970s about strange assignments during the war. The grandson, Ewan Davies, recorded these conversations. According to the recordings, donated to the South Wales Miners' Library in 2001, Albert described being selected for a special digging crew in spring 1916. "We dug where they told us, but it made no sense strategically. Miles behind our own lines in some cases, connecting nothing to nothing, it seemed. But the engineers were insistent about depth and direction. Had to be exact, they said. Even a few degrees off and we had to redig." Albert claimed his crew worked on 6 such projects over 14 months. None match known tactical mining operations in official records. Skeptics would argue, rightly, that absence of evidence is not evidence of conspiracy. Military records are incomplete for mundane reasons: bureaucratic inefficiency, wartime chaos, deliberate destruction of routine paperwork to save space. Unexplained geological surveys could simply be reconnaissance for potential future operations. Strange equipment could be experimental tools that proved impractical. The missing map could be a clerical error. Dr. Fraser's silence could reflect trauma or classified work that remained sensitive for his entire life. The vibrational leverage phrase could be technical jargon whose meaning is now lost. Each individual anomaly has plausible, innocent explanation. Yet the pattern is curious. Multiple accounts from different sources, different regions, different time periods, describing similar experiences. Unexplained projects, unusual measurements, scientists conducting mysterious surveys. None of these men knew each other. Their accounts emerged decades apart. James McAllister spoke in 1968, Albert Davies in the 1970s. Other oral histories contain passing references to special crews or odd assignments. Individually, these are anecdotes. Collectively, they suggest something beyond routine military operations occurred in certain sectors. What that something was remains speculative, but the questions persist. The strategic logic of a vibrational weapon system is both appealing and problematic. Appealing because it offers a solution to trench warfare's fundamental challenge: how to collapse fortified positions without exposing soldiers to murderous artillery fire. If synchronized vibrations could destabilize earth and concrete from a distance, the tactical advantages would be immense. But problematic because the engineering challenges are staggering. Calculating resonant frequencies for varied geological formations, coordinating multiple vibration sources, ensuring friendly positions weren't affected, controlling and directing seismic energy, all this with 1916 technology? It seems implausible. Yet implausible is not impossible. The history of warfare is filled with seemingly impossible innovations that became devastating realities. Modern geophysical science understands that mechanical vibrations can indeed affect geological stability. Controlled blasting, vibro-seise techniques, acoustic resonance, these are established technologies in mining and petroleum exploration. During World War I, The science was embryonic but not absent. Laboratory experiments demonstrated resonance effects. Tesla's claims, while exaggerated, contained kernels of truth. The question is not whether the theory was plausible in 1916, it was, but whether British engineers attempted practical application. The evidence is circumstantial, the documentation is fragmentary, the testimony is second-hand, but it exists. In 1982, a retired Royal Engineers officer, Major Edmund Hartley, gave a lecture at the Royal United Services Institute. His topic was underground warfare innovations during World War I. Most of his presentation covered well-documented operations, but near the conclusion he made a curious comment. There were other experiments naturally. Some proved valuable, some proved impractical, and some remain matters best left to official historians with proper clearances. He declined to elaborate when questioned. Major Hartley died in 1989. His papers were not preserved, but the lecture was recorded. His comment, brief and ambiguous, can still be heard on the recording held in the Institute's archives. The tunneling companies were disbanded after the armistice. Most men returned to civilian life as miners. Their wartime service was recognized but not extensively documented. As veterans aged, some shared memories in oral history projects. Most discussed the danger, the darkness, the claustrophobia, the constant threat of countermine explosions, and underground combat with German tunnelers. But occasionally, as with McAllister and Davies, they mentioned experiences that didn't fit standard narratives. Projects that seemed purposeless. Instructions that made no tactical sense. Scientists and engineers conducting experiments that seemed unrelated to immediate military objectives. These accounts are few, but they are consistent in describing activities outside normal tunneling operations. If such a project existed, why would it remain classified a century later? Modern military organizations routinely declassify World War I materials. The strategic secrets of 1916 pose no security risk in the 21st century. Yet some categories of research remain sensitive not for strategic reasons, but for political or ethical ones. Experiments that failed catastrophically. Projects involving civilian casualties. Research into weapons later deemed unacceptable. If a vibrational project existed and caused unintended damage, perhaps to Allied infrastructure, perhaps to civilian areas, the incentive for permanent secrecy becomes clear. The absence of evidence transforms from puzzle to policy. The theory rests on fragments, an unexplained phrase in a military memo, testimony from miners about unusual assignments, a geologist's missing correspondence, a map that disappeared from an archive, scattered references to special projects without elaboration. None of this proves coordinated seismic warfare research, but it suggests something beyond routine tunneling operations occurred in certain sectors of the Western Front during 1916 and 1917. Whether that something was vibrational weapons research, experimental geological survey techniques, or unrelated classified projects, we cannot know with certainty. The evidence is insufficient for conclusions. But perhaps that is precisely the point. The tunnels beneath France and Belgium remain, many unexplored and unmapped. The men who dug them are gone. The officers who commanded them left incomplete records. The scientists who may have advised them published nothing. What we have are questions, phrases that hint at hidden purposes, testimonies describing experiences that don't fit established narratives, missing documents that might contain answers. This is not proof. This is possibility, the space between what we know and what we can prove. In that space, theories emerge. Some are fantasy. Some may be fragments of suppressed truth. The challenge is distinguishing between them. Perhaps that challenge was always meant to be insurmountable.